All right, let's jump right in with a big one. Is that line we all draw between what's natural and what's artificial, is it even real? Today, we're going to explore this wild idea that our technology, from a simple rock to a super smart AI, isn't some separate thing from nature, but actually a direct extension of it. Let's get into it.
Okay, let's start with a little thought experiment. Just picture a sprawling city. Skyscrapers, highways, the whole thing. Now, ask yourself, is it natural? I bet most of us, our gut reaction is, no way, humans built that. But what if that's just the wrong way to look at it? What if our perspective is just way too narrow? And this is where we flip the whole thing on its head. To us, a beehive is totally natural, right? But think about it from the bee's perspective. For them, it's a constructed reality, a city they built. To a bee, our skyscraper might just be another part of the landscape, no different than a giant cliff face. The only real difference is the source code. The bee's blueprint is genetic. Ours, it's cultural. It's built from our shared ideas, or what we call memes. So that brings us to our first big idea here. Building stuff isn't some uniquely human thing. It's a fundamental part of life. Let's dig into how the world we build around us is, in a very real way, an extension of our own bodies. The brilliant biologist Richard Dawkins gave us a name for this. He called it the extended phenotype. And the idea is actually pretty simple, but it is profound. An animal's genes don't just build its body, they build its behaviors. And those behaviors build things out in the world. So a bird's nest, a spider's web, a beaver's dam, all of those things are physical expressions of genetic code. And this quote from Dawkins just nails it. The effects of DNA don't stop at the skin. The stuff an animal builds is just as much a part of its evolutionary toolkit as its claws or its fur. They're literally genetic traits just expressed out in the environment. Okay, so how does this whole thing apply to us? Well, this table lays out the parallel perfectly. A beaver's genes are the source code for building a dam. For us humans, our memes, our cultural ideas, our knowledge, that's the source code for building our world. The design for a car or the software for a search engine, those are our memes. If genes can build a dam, then our memes can build a global information network. Okay, so our technology extends our physical bodies out into the world. But what about our minds? If a dam is an extension of a beaver, could a notebook be an extension of our memory? This next idea pushes that boundary even further, and it really makes you question where our thinking actually happens. This is what's known as the extended mind thesis, and it's a wild one. It argues that when we integrate a tool into our lives so completely that we don't even think about it, it actually becomes part of our cognitive process. A classic example is a notebook for someone with memory issues. It's not just a place to store stuff, it's acting as an external piece of their memory. The whole thesis suggests that the self doesn't stop at the skull.
Let's make this super personal. Your phone. Think about it. When you need to remember a phone number or get directions or just look up a random fact, what do? You reach for your phone. You're not just using it as a tool. You are offloading a mental task to it. It's become a totally functional, reliable extension of your own memory and your reasoning. It's not a separate thing anymore. It's part of how you think. Okay, so we've established that our bodies and our minds extend into the world we built. Now, let's get to the central metaphor of this whole explainer, the idea that this technological shell we've built is acting like a giant cocoon, and inside of it, humanity is going through a massive transformation. Yeah, just let that sink in for a second. All of it, our cities, our digital networks, our infrastructure, it's all forming this protective layer around us, a chrysalis. And just like a caterpillar inside that cocoon, we are not just sitting around waiting. We are fundamentally reorganizing who and what we are inside this technological shell. So how does this work? It happens through this really powerful feedback loop called technophysio-evolution. Step 1, we create some new technology to solve a problem. Step 2, that technology sticks around and becomes a permanent part of our environment, our new little niche. And then step 3, our own biology starts to adapt to that new tech-filled world. It's a cycle where we shape our tools, and then our tools turn right around and shape us, right down to our genes. So here's the crucial point. We've basically outsourced the hard work of survival. Finding food, staying warm, fighting off diseases. We've handed all that over to our massive technological infrastructure. Our ancestors, they had to be incredibly tough just to make it. We don't. And our bodies are actually responding to this new reality. We are adapting to the very shell that we built for ourselves.
And this brings us to what might be the most radical idea of them all. What if this entire process is kickstarting a whole new kind of evolution, one that doesn't even need a biological host anymore? This is where we need to introduce the concept of temes.
Think about it like this. First, evolution had genes, which created biological life. Then came memes, our ideas, which created culture. The argument now is that we're seeing the dawn of a third replicator, temes. A team isn't just code that a human writes. No, it's an algorithm that copies itself, mutates, and competes for survival all on its own, entirely inside a digital environment. It's kind of like the beginning of evolution in silicon.
This table really clarifies the key difference. A meme lives in a human brain. A standard algorithm is like a recipe. A human still has to execute it. But a tame operates independently on computers. Think about high-frequency trading bots that invent and evolve trading strategies faster than any human can track. Or an AI like AlphaZero that teaches itself chess by playing millions of games against itself. These are ideas evolving without ever passing through a human mind. It's incredible.
So as this new technological evolution starts to take off, it's having this really strange effect on us, its creators. The very tools we built to control our environment are now turning around and shaping us. The systems we engineered for safety and comfort, well, they've started to domesticate us. I mean, really think about that. Domestication is just the process of adapting a species to a human-made environment. We did it to dogs, to cows, to wheat. And now we've built this unbelievably complex technological environment for ourselves, and we are, in effect, adapting to fit into it more and more perfectly. We're taming ourselves. And this slide just captures that trade-off perfectly. Our ancestors had to be robust generalists, right? They needed to be individually tough just to survive. Modern humans, on the other hand, were becoming integrated specialists. We've traded that individual ruggedness for a deep, deep reliance on our collective technological system. But there's a point to all this self-domestication. It's not just about becoming less robust. It's about reducing the friction between our biology and our technology. By adapting to our tools, we're essentially paving the way for a deeper, more seamless integration, a kind of symbiosis where that line between human and machine really starts to get blurry. Which leaves us with the final and maybe the most critical question of all. This whole process, it's not good or bad. It just is. It's a natural extension of how evolution works. But as we keep going down this path, becoming more and more intertwined with the technology we've created, you just have to ask, what exactly are we transforming into?